Hello, Gemini. Welcome to part 2 of your Where Do We Stand spread. Before we get started, I'd like to pay homage and reverence to Mother Sustainer, Father Creator, and of course my beautiful ancestors. Now, what you see laid before you is the opening guidance, and this is part 2, so this is dealing with your persons of interest perspective, and from now on they will be considered the P.O.I. Okay, so for the P.O.I, you guys have the same opening guidance or heart of the matter. And what this is saying is you have the sixth chakra, Archangel Metatron. You have the fiery climax approaches, the full moon in Aries. You have yearning, longing for someone, undesired separation, and pining. You have impatience, and you have the woman. Now, on both ends, it's speaking of thought. Well, in a lot of ways, this is speaking of thought. The only action would be the Aries full moon card, because yearning is a state of thought. You know, impatience is also a state of thought. So what this is saying is you must have clarity of thought. You know, allow your higher self to be your guide, because the sixth chakra is the third eye chakra. So don't just use your physical eyes, also use your spiritual eye, you know, because this woman is in deep contemplation about the past, about love, about life in general. You understand? And she's looking over her life where there's been impatience and yearning, but there's a fiery climax coming to this pining, this impatience, this yearning, this pining. You're going to have to get out of the mental realm and start taking some form of action. But you're going to be taking clear action, because this is clarity of thought. This is focused thought. This is higher self thinking. Okay? Now, the first question that I asked for the P.O.I. is how the P.O.I. views themselves. And we have action, exactly. Wow. We have believe in the impossible, the blue moon. We have receptivity, allow yourself to receive, allow yourself to give. We have faith and prayer and impasse. And the lesson is the books and the mask. Which, okay. So your person sees themselves as someone who is taking action. Someone who is in the process of balancing their darker and their lighter energies to be able to move boldly forward together. Because we can't always be love and light and forget that there's a shadow. You know, we can't always be a shadow and forget that there's love and light. So there has to be a balance between our two energies, right? And your person of interest, the P.O.I., is believing in the impossible. So they have, in order to believe into the impossible, there has to be something higher that you're believing in. You know, because they always like to point out that impossible, if you separate the I am with the possible, it's I am possible. You know, I am. So within the I am, anything is possible. We just have to be careful of the spells that we cast upon ourselves when we use those manifestation terms of I am. Okay? And your person right now is very receptive. They're understanding that what they're giving out is what is going to come back to them. But they're not going to be able to move forward without the faith and prayer. And when I say prayer, people always assume that I mean that in a religious concept, which I don't. Prayer to me is how you speak to the divine, and meditation is how you hear the divine. So in order to have a balance of this give and take, you need both prayer and meditation. And whatever form of way that you pray, I'm not talking about the prayer that is found in the Bibles. If that is the way that you pray, then by all means, do please don't allow me to take you from your own path, because that's not what this channel is about. But yeah, so your person is seeing that without the faith and being able to speak to the divine and have a full connection with the divine, they're going to be at an impasse. You understand? Like, they're going to come to a point of impasse where they cannot go any further, and they're going to have to be redirected back to faith and prayer, and back to realizing that they have to be receptive, to the energies of the divine. It's a give and take with all things in nature, right? And they have to have the wisdom to no longer wear a mask, because this right here is a three-sided mask. And it seems as though once you enter in a whirl of confusion and delusion. So this person is at a place now where they're realizing that it's time for the mask to come off. It's time to take action. It's time to get grounded within their spirituality in some way, some form, however way they choose to do that. Regardless if it's through religion or through school or through work, whichever way. However they choose to express their creative force, they know that it's time to take action. And be true to themselves. Now we asked how your P.O.I views you, Gemini. And we have all tied up. Wow, deceit. Okay. Hold your vision. The present. Instincts. The letter. The man. And the tree. That's very interesting because you had the woman. No, the woman was in the opening guidance. Okay. Now, how they're seeing you is like, when I first saw this, my heart was like, oh, wow. Okay, but then no. Like with the rest of the cards, it's not saying that. How they see you is that you're seeing yourself as being all tied up, and they see you as lying to yourself. That you're a lot freer and more capable than you think. Right? And all that's needed is that you hold your vision and be present to know of your own gifts, your own treasures, to realize your own value, and to follow your instincts. This person right here, this man he's in a state of contemplation, waiting. It looks like he's looking towards a door, right? Waiting on someone to come in. But what I get from this setup, what I don't normally get, is you have to write your own story. You have to write your story of life. Like, you can't navigate any of these things just sitting here patiently waiting. Yes, you're going to be grounded, but what good is it to be a tree that cannot move when you're a man? So your POI is viewing you as someone who's tied up, like, I guess, stuck in your head. But they know that you have the potential, but you just have to hold tight to your vision and stay grounded in this and follow your instincts. Most definitely. And stop deceiving yourself, because you're not all tied up as though you may seem. The next question that I asked is how they see the relationship. And they see financial constraints. Wow. Okay. Work through your fears, new moon in Scorpio. Experiments. Manipulation of nature, forcing change, cruelty in pursuit of knowledge. Arrogance. The victim card. Abundance. Okay, I'm going to do it like this and put the lessons at the bottom because They seem to be a lot. Sorry. Flip that. Star. The anchor. The mountain. And compass. So Gemini, how your POIs are viewing this relationship is they're having fears of lack. And they're wanting to work through this. They want to, because the Scorpio also represents the death card in the tarot, and the 13 here represents the death card as well. So it's saying they need to work through their fears of financial constraints within this relationship. Because there's been a lot of things going on in order to achieve these finances, but it's like somebody's victim mentality is causing the abundance to dwindle. Because right here it speaks of a man who dropped his golden coin and spent his whole life drinking away his sorrows instead of finding a way to achieve abundance, right? But this little girl, the same coin in the same gutter that he dropped, she fashioned bubblegum and string and rescued the coin and saved up all the coins to be able to buy herself a house. So it's saying it's your perception of abundance that is keeping you from it or giving it to you. So be careful of how you're choosing to manipulate in order to gain this abundance, but really what's needing to be changed is the view of abundance. Because there's a lot of blessings here. There's a lot of healing here. There's a lot of forward movement within the star. And, you guys are very much grounded in this relationship, even though there's been trials and tribulations in this relationship. But the only thing that is necessary is you guys know exactly where you're going and head towards your North Star. Because if it was like this, then it would be different. It would be saying that you know how to overcome these obstacles that you're facing, right? But you don't, because the compass is behind the mountain. So although it's pointing to your abundance, it's telling you that the obstacles that you're facing is because of this victim mentality that has you guys in a state of financial constraints. Because it doesn't matter how much you bring in. You could bring in the most money, but if you're living in a state of victimhood, that money is never going to stay with you, because you're going to find ways to drain it. Look, he could have fashioned it and gotten the coins, but no, he'd rather go and spend another gold coin drinking away his sorrows about the one gold coin that he lost and being stuck in a state of victimhood instead of actually taking action. So the next question that I asked is how your POI views the relationship. And we have thinking woman. Sorry, not the relationship. What your POI is expecting. My bad. That was how they view the relationship. Thinking woman, full moon in Sagittarius. Look at the bigger picture. We have fertility, crane bag, falling in love, Selkie and her skin, quest, and joy. Let's see if I can get all of these in the shop. Okay, maybe if I do it like this. Right? I can get all these in the same shop. Let's see. Oh yeah, okay. Then we have labyrinth, the park, flowers, and death. Okay. So, the thinking woman to me is one who is like, it's more about creative actions or creative thought. You know, the books of wisdom is here, the butterfly of transformation is here. And your partner is expecting to be able to look at the bigger picture, to be able to see the fertility that's coming into the relationship and falling in love with themselves and you all over again. Because they see that there's abundance here. You know, and the thinking woman is also emotional and, you know, comes from a place of nurturing and emotional balance. Right? But there's a lot of baggage in this relationship. And it has to do with you guys reclaiming authenticity. For whatever reason, you know, the authenticity of you guys need to be reclaimed. Because someone is on a quest that they don't need to go on. So it's like when you achieve a goal and immediately you're out there trying to find the next goal. Like you haven't even sat within the accomplishment of what you've achieved and allowed that to bring you joy. But you're more overwhelmed trying to get somewhere instead of just being. And because of that, it's like a steady stuck in a labyrinth when all that is required is peace. Because you see the white doves, right? So you just need to be centered and be at peace. Go out and have some fun. You know, go do some things. Go out and have some social experiences with your partner, because there's a lot of love and happiness here and a lot of good things to come. But a transformation is going to be needed, right? And it seemed mostly of the mind, you know, of somebody being fully authentic and realizing how powerful they truly are. You know, and whatever baggage is holding this person back from being authentic and fully standing in who they are, you know, it's keeping them away from a lot of good things. So your POI really needs to go through a transformation. You know, there goes, again, the Eye of Horus, which represents the third eye chakra. Again, it is speaking of having clear insight and not just seeing things with the physical eye, but with the spiritual eye. You know, to be able to look at the bigger picture, to point this bow towards the wisdom that comes from your higher self. Now, the last question for the reading is the outcome. So what is the outcome for your POI? And there we go, the thinking man. Balsamic moon, a time for healing. You see, your dreams need a practical plan. Full moon in Taurus. Then we have homeland, arrival, journey ends, establishment, building, settled. Wave of power. Congruency. We have water flight. We have insecurity. And last, we have child. Wow. Man and child, sorry. So what this is saying, right, is just as the thinking woman was the emotional sides and the nurturing, this thinking man is of action. You see that he's holding clear quartz in his hand. So he is very clear on his thoughts, right? And he's realizing that it's time. When I say he, the only reason I'm saying he is because the male is represented here. If you're a female POI, this goes for you too. Okay? We're just dealing with energies. So, yeah. He sees, right, that it's time to take action. Because the 4 and 6 comes to a 10, which is an ending and a new beginning. So whatever was behind him, it's time for him to take action to do the necessary healing of the balsamic moon, to be able to make practical plans to bring these dreams into life, to find his home, to get on that journey to his North Star, her North Star, to have the wisdom of the ancients be accessible and allow that to be able to guide you, to gain back the power to lift these burdens off of you, the burdens of being insecure. Because the African proverb speaks that if there's no enemy without, there can be no enemy within. But action is necessary right here. This man, he holds the symbol of Aries open to his bare chest. So in his heart of hearts, action is needed. Not sitting there contemplating. Right? Because you have to remember that Mars symbol is over the man's heart chakra. Just as the heart chakra here is being shown. But what happened is that this man needs to view his dreams through more innocent eyes. And not like childlike or infantile eyes. When I say more innocent eyes, I mean get out of his head. Because, a child doesn't wonder how their dreams are going to come. They don't wonder how big and grandiose it is and how could they so little possibly bring this to life. They just act. So it's telling you now that it's time. It's time for your P.O.I. to take up their power and run towards their destiny. And within this action, they'll be able to overcome the insecurities and go through the necessary healing that is needed right here. Now, the closing guidance for your P.O.I. Is that right? Yeah, that's good. Oh, no. Okay. Is 11 truth. And it says, are you living your sacred truth? Your being is like a spirit lodge. Within this sacred place is the realization and the divine light of your creation. Live in your spirit lodge, surrounded by peace and joy. Outside your lodge is the great wilderness where the rest of the world lives. But the wilderness can become a battleground stained by blood of ignorance and earthly pain. To have lasting power in the world, you must earn the trust of those around you. Most people live without trust and a sacred place within, without a spirit lodge. And as such, they do not know how to enter the spirit lodge of others. Live within your sacred truth so that you may know peace and joy in the great wilderness and beyond. I love how these tie into the readings. Thank you. 35, time. It says, what is it about time that gives it such power? The power to change all that exists back into dust. What is this unseen force akin to the wind? A force that can shape the land as well as our lives. Learn to play with time. A surreal element like fish swimming in treetops. A person of power knows how to arrange time. Put on your watch and be aware of the time at which you do everything. Watch the sun, the moon, the transit of the stars. Find out the time that Venus is lowest in the sky before dawn. Be aware of your physical cycles, when you get hungry, when you sleep. Our society is obsessed with time. So now become time. If you're obsessed with something, it is better to explore it than to deny it. Then it is possible to give up your obsession and let it take its proper place in your life. Your power depends on your balanced use and understanding of time. Yeah, so, what it's pretty much saying is that you have the power, and we're all given 24 hours a day. So are you going to spend your time in a state of depression, in a state of woe is me, in a state of complacency? or use the time that you have to build the life that you want. Now, I thank you so much for coming to the Black Hearted Oracle. I pray these messages found you well. I hope that you find your higher self in the quiet places, and may Ma'at hold you in her loving grace. Ashe.